I know all of this because I did all the things wrong. I've done all the things wrong. Welcome back to 10 Hours from Home. So excited that y'all are here. I know we decided that we were going to restart the podcast last year. That may have been a little bit ambitious. Last year was less of a shit show than most other years, but there was just a lot going on that needed to be taken care of. And so the podcast kind of fell, and the podcast ended up being the thing that I said, okay, I love doing this. I want it to be great. So let's put it on hold. Now, new year, new podcast. Not new podcast, same podcast, new energy. Last year's been crazy. Last year, I relaunched Atelier Kate, which if you haven't checked out our new collection, you absolutely should. It's the day after one of my really close friends from childhood came, and I don't really drink, mostly because in Paris and in Casablanca, you can't find good tequila. And all that I can drink these days that doesn't keep me up all night is tequila. And here, there's good tequila everywhere. And in Nashville, you go out, you party your ass off. Everything is cheap in terms of drinking. And I was with my childhood best friend. And so we just lived it up. And now I'm in a little bit of pain, to be perfectly honest with you. So apparently the translation is, I can't speak, which doesn't seem like it's going to bode well for recording a podcast, but here we fucking go. All right, back to the point. Last year was a lot, and we launched our new collection with Atelier Kate. If you haven't seen it, you absolutely should go to the website and check it out. It's probably the collection I'm most proud of thus far. It is so much more sustainable. We've switched from using virgin fabrics. So even though everything was always organic, fair trade, now what we're doing is super cool because we take dead stock, which is fabric that would have gone to the trash, basically. We take that fabric that would go to the landfill from these big fashion houses, haute couture maisons in Paris, and we get to create really cool stuff out of them. The other thing about it is everything that we're making is like super unique because there's a limited amount of stock. We can only make 24 pieces max. Like I think one of our pieces we can do 50. Our bags, our plates, that's another thing that we've added, which I'm super excited about. Our bags and our plates, we can do higher amounts, but in terms of the actual clothing pieces, they're super unique. They're so cool. We work with artisans in Morocco, like always. We found some incredible women who are doing embroidery work that is just incredible. A lot of our pieces are embroidered. All of our pieces are more sustainable than they've ever been because everything is being diverted from just throwing in the trash. And can I tell you, this is insane because the fabric that we get is such high quality. It has to be REACH certified in order to go to these maisons. It's so exciting. Like I just geek out on this stuff, and I'm sure that I've lost a lot of you because you're like, what is she even talking about? But REACH, basically it's a regulation to make sure that there aren't a ton of chemicals. There's nothing toxic that's going to be touching your skin. So on top of it not going to a landfill, it's also eco-friendly. And right now I actually have on, if you're watching on YouTube, our handle is 10 Hours from Home. Very exciting stuff. In our new studio, actually, in Nashville, I'm trying to create this creatives lab kind of deal. I have my Airbnb, and this is kind of a weird room in the Airbnb that I thought to myself, why don't I open this up to creatives? So if you're in Nashville and you want to record a podcast, YouTube videos, whatever, there's lights, there's a camera, there's microphones, there's cool backgrounds. You can kind of customize both sides. The other side is like a black wall and kind of like a tropical vibe. And this side is more of our neutral side. It's just a really weird space that I thought, we could use this for creatives. So if you're in Nashville and you need a creative space, feel free to book us on Gigster and Peerspace, or you can just send me an email at hello@atelierkate.com. Anyway, I am wearing our duster from the new collection, and I love it. I love a duster. I love everything about a duster. You throw it on. Like I said, went out for the last 4 nights in a row. I feel a little rough. I threw on this duster and all of a sudden I felt like a person who had her life together. And I kind of look like a person who has her life together. I don't feel like that person. But I think I'm playing the part pretty well, thanks in large part to this duster. I also throw it over like yoga pants. I'll put a tank top and yoga pants on in the airport and throw this duster over, and I look like I got my shit together. But I'm super comfortable. And beyond launching the new collection, getting this house put together so that it can be like a cool creative space, and doing a massive renovation project, I had some health stuff going on that I had to figure out. And so that involved a lot of like flights back and forth to Paris. There just wasn't a lot of time to like sit down and chat. And I'm excited for this new year because I feel like that's what it's going to be. Like just a lot of like moments. Just sit and breathe and chill and enjoy your friends and enjoy your family. Get stuff done, but not be running around like your hair's on fire. So that's why we're back. And I'm excited. And we have this new, cool, beautiful studio setup that I'm excited about. And I love my little deer head. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my little deer head. When I bought this house with my mom, I told her, oh, we're going to decorate it. And I'm going to decorate it. And it's got an animal theme. And she's like, oh my God, what the hell are you talking about? An animal theme? And I'm like, there's an animal theme. And it's not like an animal theme. Like there's not animal print or animal faces everywhere. But there is an animal in every room. So there's like a squirrel in one bedroom, like a little gold squirrel. And then I have my beautiful white deer head. And I told her I bought a deer head. And she was like, oh my God, Catherine Marie. And I was like, yeah, we're in Nashville. We're in the South. You have to have a deer head mounted on your wall. And she goes, Catherine Marie, you did not buy a deer head. And I said, I absolutely did buy a deer head. And then she freaked out. People are not going to want to stay at a place where a dead deer is looking at them. So I sent her a picture on WhatsApp and she was like, you're such a brat. Anyway. But I look at him and I think of my mom. And also, I just think he's so cute. Anyway, so in every room, there's like a little animal. It's like a treasure hunt. Can you find the animal in this room? They're really obvious. There's some camels in some places. There's my dog Stella is in a few places. So I've been a little bit busy. And also a little bit unhealthy. Not unhealthy. My eye is trying to explode in my face. And it's still something I haven't figured out. We'll get there. We'll talk about it in another episode because we're going to do a whole episode on healthcare. We'll do one on healthcare. The one coming up is on love and dating. We actually have kind of like a series of love and dating. We're going to talk about dating. We're going to talk about marriage. We're going to talk about divorce. And that's going to be kind of our little American abroad love story. That being said, today we're going to talk about should you stay or should you go? There's kind of this moment after your first year abroad or when your contract is up at work when you think, is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? Or for the foreseeable future? It doesn't have to be for the rest of your life. You're at a crossroads. You have to decide, like, should I stay? Should I go? And how can I do it? We talked in previous episodes about, like, how to apply for visas, what kind of visas there are, ways to stay, and all of that good stuff. But this one is really about, like, is this the best decision? And how can you make that decision? Because sometimes you really love a place and you're like, I really love it here, but I don't know if I can do this forever, or I don't know if I can do this for 3 or 5 or whatever more years. I really love this place, but I really miss my family. There's a lot of up in the air questions when it comes to just making that decision. I just kind of want to be able to help and talk about the way I went about making those decisions or lack thereof, and kind of what's a healthy way to do it and what's not a healthy way to do it, because I've done both. I've been like, oh yeah, this was a train wreck. The thing that makes me laugh is when people ask me about my abroad experience. I tell the story in a way that makes it sound like it was so well thought out, completely flawless in the transitions from one place to another. And like I totally had my shit together at 22 years old. That is not the case. I know I've told this story, but I got in 3 car accidents in San Francisco and I wanted to run away. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want something new. And I want to be far away from whatever the hell's going on. I just kind of like went, I speak Spanish, I'm going there. Did no research about the fact that people in Barcelona speak Catalan and just kind of jumped. And I flailed and I failed, to be honest. I mean, I succeeded in the fact that I didn't go home, I guess. But I feel like I failed because I was super miserable, and if I was probably smarter, I probably would have gone home. But it was just like, it was more like I was just having fun and getting drunk and not really thinking about any long-term goals, which at 22, I guess is fine. People out here are already married and have kids at 22, some of them. I'm 34. I feel ready now for that, but at 22, oh my God, don't give me that responsibility. I was drunk in the club in Barcelona. Like, good for you for being able to, I don't know, take care of a whole nother human life, but I don't think I could have done that at 22. I mean, I'm sure if I had to, I could have. I can't even imagine 22-year-old Katie trying to navigate that situation from the 22-year-old Katie that I know. I mean, like I said, I would have gotten it together. Like, it wasn't like I was like massively out of control. I was just having fun. I was being 22. That being said, I ran away from Barcelona too. I was like, oh my God, I don't like this. This isn't better. This is worse than anything I was doing. And I hated the family I was an au pair for. And I ran away from that, got an apartment, loved my apartment, loved my friends. I let that whole experience kind of sour my view of Barcelona, and I was like, I just got to get out of here. And I was kind of a miserable bitch, and I regret being a miserable bitch towards my friends because when I got to Paris, I missed them a lot. That was one of the biggest lessons I think that I learned in Barcelona was just because you're miserable in a place, like, don't make everybody else miserable. It happens, and they were good friends because they stuck with me through it. And I was, like I said, a miserable bitch. Anyway, with all of this knowledge of the running away, I ran away to Paris. I ran away to Barcelona. The only place I really feel like I didn't run away from something, but even that I ran away from something. So I can't really say anything about that. But I mean, I did sort of run away from Paris to Morocco, but it was a more concerted running away. It was a well planned out. I had a plan of what things would look like and how things would fit where. But I was still running away wholeheartedly. So this is basically an episode called Don't Be Katie. She's insane. Don't do what she did. But let's talk about like gathering information. Let's talk about how you really feel. The best way that you can know if you should stay somewhere is by really taking inventory about everything. Checking in with how you feel. Checking in with what your lifestyle is like, your friendships, cost of living. My God, cost of living will stress you the fuck out if you don't have it under control. Moving from Barcelona to Paris was a huge increase in my cost of living. I also had jobs in Paris, so that made a difference. But in the beginning, as a student, the initial shock was, whoa, life is more expensive, significantly more expensive. The importance is having a well-rounded inventory of exactly what the picture of your life looks like. That being said, if you're super miserable, don't fight it out. Like, you don't have to be miserable. If you're in a country and you have no friends, no support system. There's nothing about the city you like. Don't fight it out. Like, you don't have to be miserable at all. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. I feel like a lot of what I did originally was, well, I don't want to go home because I don't want to be a failure in this. And that's not a way to live. And I mean, there were other things. I had friends, I had people around me, I had a support system. I made an effort to nurture relationships. But I also think a lot of it was like, I don't want to fail in this. So I wasn't fully miserable because I had those amazing people around me. But if I hadn't had those people around me, oh, you bet your ass I would have gone home, or I would have been a very different person. Already with a support system, I left Barcelona angry. I left in a hurry. And I wasn't the best friend. Like, I wasn't a great friend to my friends. And like, I've always had a lot, like, I regret that. I regret that because my friends were great friends. And even to this day, like, I still am in contact with most of them, and they're wonderful, amazing people. And I can be a better friend now because I'm not a miserable human being stuck in a country I don't want to be in, trying not to fail. I do believe everything happens for a reason. So it's not like I left Barcelona and I'm like, oh fuck, I fucked up in Paris too. I fully believe that I was meant to go to Paris. I was meant to stay in Paris. For whatever reason, 11 years later, I'm still there between Paris and Morocco. So I don't regret moving to Paris, and I don't think it was the wrong decision. When I left, I missed my friends. I was miserable in Paris too in the beginning. Paris is a hard place to live. French people are a hard nut to crack. Barcelona is completely opposite than that. It is warm. People are warm and they're open and it's fun and they talk to you, and you think that they're more when you are an American and you're coming from such a friendly, talk to everybody kind of place. It seems like Catalans are, well, I mean, they are kind of like standoffish, less so than Parisians. And I know because I have turned into one. I don't want anybody talking to me on the metro. I don't want you to ask me for directions. I want to have as few human interactions as I possibly can if I don't know you. And that's one of the things about being back here with my friend from childhood. I was telling her, I don't talk to people. Like, I go out, I don't fucking talk to people. And she's like, oh, I love your tattoo. Oh, I love this. And that. And she's talking to everybody, and everybody's talking to her and us and everybody. And I'm like, this is so not my vibe. And it's not that. I appreciate it. People are super friendly, super kind. I like having that conversation in the grocery store. Oh, I love your jacket. Thank you so much. How are you doing today? That kind of thing. I think it's so endearing. But there's something about getting into a massive conversation with a stranger that I'm too Parisian for it now, I guess. And I'm not Parisian in any type of way other than going when I don't know something. I don't know. That's a very Parisian thing, French thing. Not wanting to talk to people when I'm out. I just want to be with my friend and I want to hang out and I don't want to give you directions and I don't want to be your best friend and oh my God, I love you and I'm living for you. And this isn't a slight to Americans, but it's just a different vibe and a different culture. When you're coming from that and then you go to Barcelona and people are a little bit more standoffish. And then you go to Paris and people are super standoffish. French people are a hard nut to crack. But then you finally crack them and then you've lived there for so long that you kind of adapt the same mannerisms in terms of the social interaction situation. And then you come back here and it's like overwhelming. You're like, oh God, stop talking to me. So when I moved to Paris, I was super miserable because it was a hard city, hard people to crack, like hard nuts to crack. And I had one friend and she was great. And she's still my friend to this day. But it was still hard. And I had a boyfriend. That was the other thing. I had a boyfriend. We went on 3 dates. We moved in together. So I had even a support system here, but I was having more fun in Barcelona. I could afford to do more fun things in Barcelona. So you just have to take stock. If you have no other positives to a situation other than, okay, I tried this and I'm done, then it's time to leave. 100%. It's time to leave. If you are having one bad experience, your job sucks, or you're an au pair and your family are psychopaths, or you're in a school that you don't really like, or you're not connecting to anybody, but on the other side, you're having a lot of fun. You have a lot of things you like to do in that city. The other things will come. If you have those things and you're like, I hate this place, it's always gray, everybody's crabby, I don't have any friends, anybody I meet is actually leaving, that's a completely different story. And you need to take stock of like, okay, what are the positives? What are the negatives? And if the negatives are outweighing the positives, the fact that you even made it to that country in the first place is a massive accomplishment. If you look at people around you, if you look at your community, you look at your peers, I have friends who have never been out of the country. Just getting out of the country is a massive success. And then beyond getting out of the country, putting yourself into a culture and a situation and an experience that you've never been in before, that's a massive accomplishment. That's what I would say to my younger self if I was to go back. You didn't fail. You made it. You made it there and you made it back all in one piece. You have this experience. It may have soured your view of travel or the country or whatever for the rest of your life, but like it's not a failure. Even if it is, it's okay. Even if you feel like it's a massive failure, you still did it. If you feel like that, and you want to just go home, but you're feeling like you would show up as a failure, anybody who would call you a failure in the first place would never even do what you're doing. And second, there's a lot to learn in failure. You know, I mean, like if you failed at living abroad and you're like, I never want to do that again, you learned that you love wherever you live. And that's awesome. Like that is so amazing. That's a massive accomplishment. Try not to be too hard on yourself and just take stock. Was it good? Was it bad? What was positive? What was negative? And also, did you give it a fair shot? Because sometimes I do see some newer expats who don't really give it a fair shot. To be honest, even if you do give it a fair shot, but you're miserable, can you really give it a fair shot? And it doesn't change anything. You'll just want to go home anyway. For example, I had an ex-roommate, ex-friend, who came to visit me before my wedding, which we'll get into that. We had been friends like when we were 5. We didn't really, 3 actually. We didn't talk during our teen years, and then for some reason we reconnected. She came to visit and she really loved it. And I was like, you should move out here. Like, she was like, this is so cool. I really love it. You should move. Like, you should come and we can get a bigger place. You can live with me and my ex-husband and it'll be great. So she did. And it was a disaster. And the minute that she got off of the plane, she said, I've made a huge mistake. Her attitude did not change at all about that. I set her up with, she didn't have to go through finding an apartment in Paris. She didn't have to deal with finding a job in Paris. I set her up with an apartment. I set her up with a job. I did everything that I could in my power to try to help. And she knew the moment she got off the plane, she made a massive mistake. And that was what peppered her experience. And ultimately, that's not what ended our friendship. Well, it would probably, maybe it was. Maybe she felt like it was a massive mistake and she felt like I talked her into it or something. And then she resented me. And so she would cut me down and say nasty things. And instead of like talking about what the problem was, and we were young and probably not the most mature, it ended awfully. And I wish it wouldn't have gone that way, because I only want people to have positive experiences. So if you get off the plane and you think, this is a massive mistake, I have made a huge mistake, just get back on the plane. It's okay. Even if you have friends there, just say, I love you. I made this. This is a mistake that I made. I don't want to do this. This isn't for me. I'm going to go home. And that's okay. Nobody's going to hold it against you if you do that. I bet you people would rather you do that than stay and make everybody else miserable. I know I would have appreciated that. We probably would still be friends today if that was the case. But then I found great other roommates, so it was fine. Another big question you should ask yourself too is, do you have a legal way to stay? Because I have friends who have done that, who have overstayed their tourist visa, and it just creates a lot of stress that you don't need, to be honest. You can't really move outside of the country, which when you're living, especially in Europe, that's the whole point. Like, you live in Paris, you can go anywhere. I'm going to Granada when I get back. And it was like $70 round trip. That's part of the joy of living in Europe, especially because everything is so close. In Tennessee, you can go to Kentucky, you can go to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, all within an hour. That's kind of how Europe is. I mean, for fuck's sake, my flight from Paris to Casablanca is 2.5 hours or 3 hours. You're even close to Northern Africa. You're close to a lot of stuff. If you're living in Europe and you can't move, it's depressing, to be honest, and it's stressful. And getting back home means you have a fine or you can't come back. If you overstay your tourist visa too many times, you are not allowed to enter the country for 10 years. It's a risk. And sometimes I get it. People can't not do it. If you can't stay legally, don't add that stress to yourself unless you're legitimate, like you're in danger or you can't go home. Lack of funds, lack of safety, fleeing war. Those are massive things. We're shooting the shit here on this podcast. We're talking from a place of massive privilege. I'm talking from a place of massive privilege. I'm assuming you're coming from a place of privilege as well. I'm not assuming that you're listening to this in a country where you need to flee for your safety. I'm not assuming that you're listening to this from somewhere that's impoverished or you need to come to a country to escape something other than yourself and your own bullshit. But I mean, those are reasons, yes, please stay. I want you to stay. Be safe, be happy, be in a place where you will thrive the best. It will be more stressful without the proper legal channels. And sometimes that's unnecessary stress. Have an emergency fund if you can. Have enough money to get a ticket to go back to your family if you have that option, or your home and your support system if you have that option. That's the most important thing. The thing that I've taken away the most about living abroad is having your support system. I have a great support system in my mom. I can call her any time of day, any moment. She's there 100%. I also have people in each country that I live that are like my family. I know I've talked about my Moroccan mom. I have my Paris family. These people are the people that I know I can lean on and that have my back, and vice versa. And the best way to find these people is either you make friends with local people and they'll just adopt you, or you find other lifer expats and they'll be able to offer you some stability and a support system. Because sometimes when people are coming and going, they're students, they're au pairs, they're here for a year, they're here for a year or two, and then they leave. That can be really hard because you create this connection and then that person disappears. And I have great friends who I know from Morocco, from Paris, from Barcelona, who were only there for a year. And like I was only in Barcelona for a year. And we still have those friendships. But if I'm staying in Paris, if I'm staying in Barcelona, if I'm staying in Casablanca, I need people around me who are going to be there and be stably there. That I know, okay, you're a face I'm going to see for the next 5 years. You're a face that I'm going to see. There's no expiration date on their stay. Yeah, I'm married to a Frenchman. Yeah, I'm Moroccan and this is my home. I have a friend in Casablanca who is American and Moroccan, and her mom and before her brother all lived in Morocco. She's living in Morocco for the foreseeable future. Her mom's in Morocco for the foreseeable future. Her brother just left. This type of stability will help you immensely if you're planning on a life abroad in that country for an extended period of time, because it will make you feel like things are less transient. So why do people stay? What are the main reasons people stay? I asked my expat group. In France, let me tell you, it is love. That one person was like, I'm here because I love the city and I love the culture and I love this first. That wasn't the first sentence. Nobody was like, I'm just here because I think it's a really great place to do business. I'm just here because I really love the city of Paris. I'm just here because I love French people and they're the best people in the world. They were like, no, I'm here because I fell in love with a Frenchman and I married him. And like also guilty. That's actually not why I moved to Paris, as we all know. If you listen to the first episode, I moved to Paris for school, and then the Frenchman happened to be the cherry on top of the sundae. I moved to Morocco. I can do things cheaper, and my lifestyle will be better, and I won't be so stressed, and I can do exactly what I want to do without breaking the bank. But like, if I'm really honest with myself, it probably was the guy. I was like, oh, there's this really great guy. And then also I can do things cheaper. But Paris wasn't the guy. The guy was the cherry. But it was cracking me up because literally every single answer was, I fell in love with a Frenchman. I ended up marrying him. I love the city. I fell in love with a Frenchman. I started studying here. I ended up staying. And then I fell in love with another Frenchman and married him. Like, it always has to do with love. Everybody's falling in love with Frenchmen. And like I said, we're going to have a whole conversation about that. Now, having been with Frenchmen, I don't understand the thing, but I'm also guilty of it. I fell in love with a Frenchman, and that's why I ended up staying as long as I did. What are you going to do? It's just the way it's just the way that the cookie crumbles, I guess. But I was waiting for like one answer from the expat group that was like, I love Paris and I just figured out a way to be here and stay here. Fuck no. Everybody was like, I love a Frenchman and I married him. Okay, same girl, same. And it was all women that responded, by the way. I think I actually asked in a women's group, which I probably should have asked in like the general expat group. I will say, if you are here for the reason of love, if you are in your situation because of a love, please, please, please don't make the same mistakes that I did. Make friends outside of your significant other. Do things with those friends. Have a life. Learn about what you like. Do your activities. If you like yoga, go to yoga class. If you like running, go to a running club or whatever runners do. I don't know, because I would rather be fucking beat over my head than go running. But that's just me. Whatever your thing is, book club, read, whatever. And there's so many things to do in Paris. There's so many activities. There's so many expats now. Oh my God. You don't even have to speak French, as we talked about so many times. Just go and enjoy and create a life outside of your significant other. That's a universal piece of advice. But when I moved to Paris in the beginning, my whole life, I just was like following this Frenchman around, I became friends with his friends. I mean, I was in school, so I had friends at school. I saw my friend Lavinia, but he was my priority. I didn't create a life outside of him until a couple years in, because I finally realized, like, if we break up, I don't have any of my own friends. I don't have any of my own things going on. I need my own life. And I don't want everything, if we do break up, which we eventually did, I didn't want everything I did in the city to remind me of him. We used to go to a Korean restaurant, and when we broke up, I was like, oh, we always went here. Imagine if every experience was like that. When I asked the same question in my Moroccan expat group, some of it was love, some of it was lifestyle and cost of living, a lot of it was environment. I love the climate. I love being able to go to the beach. I love the temperature is so chill all the time, it's like constant all the time. That's something I hate about Morocco, to be honest. I love Morocco. I love a lot of things about Morocco. I miss seasons. Same for Paris. I love Paris. I love a lot of things about Paris. I miss seasons. In Paris, you have gray, and then you have 2 months of not gray. In Morocco, you have hot, moderately not hot, sometimes cold, but not really cold, because then you go to Paris and you're like, fuck, this is really cold. So there are different reasons other than love. Apparently, if you're going to Paris, the only reason you can go there is because you married a Frenchman. The only reason you're a lifer in Paris is because you married a Frenchman. Just kidding. I had maybe 20 responses, but it's just funny that all 20 of those responses were, yeah, I came for love. So yeah, those are some of the tax advantages, cost of living, like I said. That was a big one for me in Morocco. That's why I really love Morocco. I always bitch. My friend was like, you got to stop comparing prices, because I can go to really nice restaurants in Morocco and spend $20, $50. Here, I go to a mediocre restaurant, I'm spending $100. It's crazy. This weekend, I spent $75 on lunch yesterday, and I had one alcoholic beverage. We did have a lot of fucking food, but I'm just saying, the cost of living is crazy. But especially coming from Morocco, even Paris, it's not that expensive to live in Paris, not comparatively to the US. Maybe if you're comparing it to Morocco, yeah, it's freaking expensive. And maybe if you're comparing Morocco to, I don't know, any other place in the world, it's probably fucking expensive too. So cost of living is a massive draw for a lot of people, especially in retirement, studying, or, those type of things. Your money can go a lot further. What are the main takeaways? If you have any inkling that you want to stay, create a life of your own. Do the things that you would normally do in your home country. If you love to go to the movies, go to the movies. A lot of places have VOS TFR, version original. I guess I don't have to say it, like version original, sous-titré en français. Every country will have an original version of the movie, which is generally in English. If you go to see an Avengers movie, you're gonna have an original version that you can see. Not an original virgin, an original version. If you love to do that, if you love to go to yoga, like I said, if you love to run, if you love to cycle, whatever it is, you can find those things to do, create a group, find your people, and it will happen, and it will make you feel better. And make sure that not all of those people are transient. Make sure you have a few people in that group that have been there for 3, 4, 5 years, that don't have an expiration date for when they're leaving, because that'll make a huge difference in your support system and your ability to feel stable. And it's easy. When I was in Barcelona, it's easy to get wrapped up in the partying and just having fun or going to the beach every day and in a romantic relationship. But the honeymoon period for all of that fades. And then you're stuck with the reality of the situation. Maybe there's not much outside of the reality of those things. So it's always important to take that time to create those spaces. I know all of this because I did all the things wrong. I've done all the things wrong. I think Morocco is the only place that I really want to make a concerted effort to have my own friends, my own groups, my own things to do. So I have that. Make sure you're happy. Make sure you're not just staying so you don't fail. And whether you're in a relationship or not, create a life if you want to stay that you really love and create stability for yourself. So anyway, that's what we have. That's what we have for this week. So excited to be back with you. And I can't wait to dive into our other topics. And you can follow the podcast at 10 Hours From Home. You can follow me at The Kate Girl, Kate Girl. And you can follow the business if you're interested in seeing the new collection and everything that's going on with Atelier Kate at The Atelier Kate on Instagram. All of that's on Instagram. I am not cool enough for TikTok. I am not cool enough for the other things. Also, I got other things to do, so I focus on that one platform at The Atelier Kate, ATELIER. And if you want to reach out to me for any reason, I've said it a couple times, hello@atelierkate.com. I'm excited for this year. I'm excited to be back together. Send me emails about your experiences. If you have any questions, let's connect. I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your week or weekend whenever you're listening to this. Thanks for being here. Bye.